Hello everybody and welcome to another resolution check-in. If you don't know what this is, I was hoping to play every investigator once in the year 2022. We are cutting it awfully close. It is October and we still have a good chunk of investigators left to go. However, we have gotten through a lot since the last check-in here. So in this one, I'm going to talk about kind of like my thoughts on the investigator, what I learned, because the whole point of this resolution was to play the investigator, see if I discovered anything new about me and the playstyle of that investigator, and just basically, as always, learn how to get better at Arkham Horror the card game. Because I love playing Arkham Horror the card game, I love winning Arkham Horror the card game, but I also love improving my own personal play styles, and just increasing my knowledge of the game as well. So, let's dive in. We're going to go down the list. Some of these I have decks for, some of them I don't have decks for, some of them I have slightly modified decks for from the original deck list that I played for them, but why don't we stop down the list as we kind of go through this. So, Daniela Reyes. I've actually played her twice so far this year. I played her with Travis on the channel with a limited collection, building only with building only with Edge of the Earth, Forgotten Age, core, and starter decks. That was the limited collection that we built with. I built a trusted Aquanaut deck, and I was the goon because Travis played Amanda. Amanda, of course, can flex into anything, but he focused on getting clues and ruining my day with curse tokens. However, I kind of changed Daniela into a Teslas kind of fighter because her ability is so good. Aquana is fine. And then using other cards that are in her pool, in the pool I had, really shined and really showed that you can build a Daniela that doesn't have to rely on actually making tests to fight. It was kind of really cool. I also played her as part of my Draft Challenge 4, where I played through Dream Eaters with 3 other investigators on this list. She was paired with Norman Withers. And I will just say, 5 fight goes a long way in a draft run. You can make most weapons work pretty reliably when you have 5 base fist. About Christmas last year, when I did my tier list, I believe I put Daniela in my A+, and I actually put her above Mark Harrigan in terms of her fighting prowess. While I think depending on your playstyle, that can flip, I just think that Daniela's ability of Tesla's damage is very powerful. It's incredibly powerful. So my opinion on Daniela from last year to now is pretty similar. I think she's very strong, and I think she's very capable, and if I was doing my tier list ranking right now, but I wouldn't because I have to wait till Christmas for that, I would still put her pretty confidently in the A+ tier. This is only improved by the fact that Survivor is getting even better weapons coming out now, because in Scarlet Keys, which we have a discussion video going on that tomorrow for all the other cards that were revealed, Baseball Bat, the experienced version, is another tool that she can use as just like a way to make sure that she finds a weapon. So while she doesn't have the Guardian weapon pool, she makes up for that in cheap weapons that don't use ammo as often. I mean, she can still do really good with the Derringer and Survivor. And I think that she is just going to improve and become even better and potentially be one of the best fighters in the game. Probably can't beat Tony Morgan, but probably is going to just be a very good fighter. In my mind, she will surpass even Mark Harrigan. She just needs to get a bit more card draw to match it, because that's where Mark's strength is, right? Mark has to make tests to deal damage, but he gets a lot of card draw, right? Daniela, she doesn't have as much card draw, but she also can deal a butt ton of Teslas damage, and even that Teslas evade is very powerful and should not be forgotten when you were talking about Daniela's power level. Otherwise, like, they both have to run a bunch of soak and or healing. They're actually very similar fighters when it's stripped down. I just think that Daniela, she's going to continue to get really good pieces that really make her shine. She did very well in the draft challenge. It's on the channel if you want to watch it. just go through our playlists and you'll find it in no time. All right, Dexter Drake. I have a deck for Dexter. So I played Dexter and Jim through Carcosa. And at the time of this video's date, the campaign has not finished. So, my Dexter Drake, I got pretty unlucky with Dexter. And while I was playing Dexter, I kind of just realized that I'm bad at Dexter. So I see what Bryn does with Dexter, and like he's like swapping out. He's swapping out assets left and right, and like legitimately doing magic. I never was able to really do that, and I think obviously that came on me. That was my problem, because Dexter is a very strong investigator, and while he wasn't exactly weak, like he still did damage, I just ended up playing him like a normal mystic. So I think to fix that, I need to play more card draw. I think that's what I was kind of missing, because like I would like have assets in my hand, and then I would just look at it and be like, well, I don't really have anything to play because my card draw was so bad. So finding ways to draw cards is probably going to be it. I like playing Dexter. I've played Dexter twice now in a campaign and once in a standalone. My first time was my first time playing Cyclopean Hammer, and Dexter absolutely killed. I played Molly Maxwell in that one, and it was a very good time. But this one, the Dexter, he was kind of just like there, right? Like he did good damage with Brand of Cthugha, especially because the card is wild. Brand of Cthugha, if you don't know what it is, I'll get it on the screen. But I just wasn't able to showcase a Dexter that really killed it. They just like absolutely showcased what I see Bryn do with him. And I even like when I say like when Bryn was swapping assets like crazy, I don't mean like he was swapping like assets every turn. But like I would never swap assets. And I think that goes down to me and my problem. Like maybe Brand of Cthugha isn't the option for it. Maybe I got to run more things. I don't know. But Dexter is still kind of in my I want to get better and better understand and figure out how to play him better, because I don't think I'm good with Dexter. I don't think he's like him, and we gel. So if you have any Dexter Drake decks, feel free to please put them in the comments, because I would love to check out other people's interpretations of Dexter Drake to see what maybe I am missing in the decks that I play with Dexter. All right, next up is Father Mateo. So I will say right now, this Father Mateo deck is from the Twitch Chat Challenge, which is currently going. This is my schedule. This is, spoiler alert, here's the schedule for the month. The Twitch Chat Challenge is currently going on the channel. It just recently started. So if you don't want to see spoilers for it, you might want to get out or skip ahead a bit. But it's really not that crazy of a spoiler. So, Twitch Chat Challenge. This was played where Twitch Chat, they built my decks for me by taking pools of cards, and then I would randomly draw from that pool of cards that they put in. As you can kind of see, these decks are kind of like advanced draft decks. That's what I kind of like, I felt like a Twitch Chat Challenge was. It was more focused than drafting, and my pool was better, but I was still just kind of playing with a pile of cards with very little cohesion. However, I will say that I actually enjoyed the heck out of Father Mateo through that run. He was our goon, and he did need to like really flex on that. Like he really had to try and change and like kind of just scrap together through it. But the Father Mateo was a really good time. His ability obviously is like his Elder Sign effect is really good. His also turning an autofail into an Elder Sign, also really good. That's all very known. His stat line is, of course, where we suffer, but I was able to like succeed a good chunk of the time with Father Mateo. And while I'm not exactly impressed to the point where I'm like, he's a great mystic, I do think that he is just like good, but like he's still not, he surprised me more than I thought he was going to, and I actually had an enjoyable time with him, which was more than I was expecting when I was looking at my resolution and saw that I still needed to play Father Mateo this year. Because he doesn't exactly excite me, because he's like the things I hate. I don't like Mystics that much, and like he's kind of just like, he doesn't really have an ability. His card pool, like how he builds, is also not too exciting. Like his just blessed to 0/3. It doesn't really like interest me that much. But I will say that I actually had a really good time playing him through this chat challenge, which is more than I expect. So Father Mateo, I'm happy with how you turned out. Okay, who's next? Finn Edwards. So, I like Finn Edwards a lot. And this is actually something I said to Travis yesterday when we were recording this. So this Finn Edwards deck is from our Dark Matter playthrough. No spoilers for the actual deck. This is like for the actual campaign here. This is just for how the deck is at this point going into the final scenario. But what I told Travis was that the thing that I really like about Finn Edwards is that for his card pool, being as poopy as it is, you can make really good decks out of it. Like, I actually like surprisingly good, compelling, fun, good decks out of it. So, this deck is a skill-based Finn Edwards, utilizing Practice Makes Perfect, and Daredevil, and Copycat, and kind of just like using our skills, slinging our skills on tests when we get them, and just kind of passing everything. I was the designated... my deck, the level 0 deck started as a flex, but as our decks evolved, I kind of just became the Skilver. I'm still running like sneak attacks because card's good, right? Free damage. Testless damage is really nice. And it's... But basically just like Lola, getting clues. This side of the deck is like very traditional, except for Moxie hanging out here having a good time. But the right side with the skills is where the real fun part of the deck is. So back in my birthday, Tasty Toast made a deck very similar to this that had the whole thing was about slinging spells. And as a Justin deck for my birthday, and I'll say Tasty Toast nailed it. This is a very Justin deck. I've made it even more Justin because I built it and I am Justin. But I just have to say that this deck was an absolute blast. I loved playing it, and I love playing it because we still have one scenario left. It's just been a really, really, really good time, and Finn Edwards. I love Finn. He's a great investigator. And I think he got a bunch of illicit cards in green. We need, like, I think to like really like have Finn be a little bit spicier, he needs to get some illicit cards from another card pool, like another class's card pool, so we can do some things that aren't just green things, right? But I still think that Finn can do a lot with his stat line, given what his card pool is, because his stat line is like a really, really good stat line. Finn's a fun investigator, and I'm excited to play with him again once it comes time to use the Scarlet Keys cards. All right. Next up, we got Harvey Walters. So Harvey Walters was also from the Draft Challenge, so I don't have a deck for him here, but he was paired with Leo Anderson. Harvey draws cards like a machine. He has 5 books, so he investigates like a machine. His weakness, Thrice Damned Curiosity, I definitely think is scarier than it actually is in play. Like, it's pretty easy to not die to Thrice Damned Curiosity. You just need to, like, plan for it. Like, I was playing a draft... I mean, actually, you know what? Not even the plan for it. Because I was playing a draft run, and I never died that I can recall to Thrice Damned Curiosity. Because you just have to be aware of it. You just need to know, like, hey, I think I'm gonna, like, maybe play some cards or commit some cards here. Rather than sitting on this and like taking 3 damage, I can maybe only instead take 2 damage, right? And like having allies to, soak damage for you is very good. He also is an old man with a lot of health stamina, so like with a lot of health, so like even killing him is kind of tough. I think Harvey Walters is good. I think he's kind of boring, because like the Seeker card pool is very strong, but in itself is kind of just like, I think Seeker gets especially interesting when they can, abuse other colors. So, while Harvey Walters I think is good, I think he's kind of just dull. And I don't really get excited about playing Harvey Walters, but I did have a good time playing him. Now, everybody loves Jim Culver. And I think that this is the most successful Jim deck I've had. I think I would just alter a few things with it if I was going to revisit it. But this deck, I called Jim Skilver. The rule of a Jim deck is that you need a Mimi name to go along. You need like a Mimi nickname, right? Like there's Jim Skilver where you care about skulls. There's Jim Skilver where you care about skills. And then, honestly, those are the only names I have, but I'm workshopping more every time I get a new Jim deck. So, this Jim deck was built all around Astronomical Atlas. Astronomical Atlas is a very strong Mystic card from Edge of the Earth where you get to... it's basically a reverse crystallizer of dreams, and the best way to explain a card is to mention another card. That's just how it works, especially for new players. But you get to commit cards attached to it to skill test, and if you're successful, you add that card to your hand. And then you also get to look at the top card of your deck and attach it to Astronomical Atlas. So basically, you're getting double use out of your cards. So my thought process was that Jim has a pretty standard, kind of not great, not bad stat line. So he can really take advantage of the skill cards and probably pass the majority of the tests when coupled with his Treat the Modifier on Skull tokens as a 0 ability. I dropped my pen on the ground. I got my pen from the ground. So with this deck, obviously like Astronomical Atlas was really nice to have out. Research Librarian would help us find that. I had the Black Cat here too. This is one of the things I would probably change if I was going to revisit this deck. Because like I built the deck like literally like 10 minutes before I went live. So I didn't have an upgrade plan, and then chat was like, you should just make every symbol good. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. And I think the Black Cat's a good card, but I don't think it did enough in the deck for me to want to play it again here. But it also could, it could. Maybe it just didn't show up enough in the campaign for me to actually, dig it. But even though these skill cards stayed very basic, this deck really showed up. I think this deck was kind of crazy in terms of its clue getting output. So for an example, this deck, I actually passed the first agenda on Echoes of the Past, I believe in 2 rounds. I believe it was 2 rounds. Jim just went and got clues. Because Read the Signs gets clues. Look What I Found gets clues. Deduction, when you can play it twice, gets clues. Divination is really good for this deck because it allows you to use the relevant skill for the skill cards that you have, or the cards you have on Astronomical Atlas. Another good thing about Black Cat is that it does have 2 wilds, which means it's very easy to hit off of Astronomical Atlas because you can use it on a Sixth Sense test. But overall, while this deck, I still found it to be a Jim deck, so I think that other people can use Astronomical Atlas better than Jim can. I do think that this turned out to be a really good deck, and I had a really good time playing it. I would revisit and kind of tweak the Jim Skilver deck again. I absolutely would. I think it was a good time. I really enjoyed this deck. All right. Leo Anderson. This was also from the draft deck, as I told you, I mentioned earlier. He was paid with Harvey Walters. I got Tree Hands as my weakness, and I pulled one of the other cards out of the pool, because for the draft, I did the whole draw 3, remove 1, then get one of the 2 at random, the remaining cards. And I got Tree Hands, Dendromorphosis, which basically makes your weapons go away. This brought a very interesting push and pull dynamic to the deck. So much so that in the draft, it actually turned into a weird spell-slinging event-style killing Leo Anderson. And it was a good time. It was definitely it would have been better if it wasn't a draft deck. But however, with the draft deck, I actually kind of had a great time playing Leo, even when a good chunk of my playtime was also playtime and deck was also revolving around the idea of trying to dig out Dendromorphosis so I could start playing my guns. When that happened, the Leo was a very efficient killing machine. I will say I only had like 2 allies in the deck, so I think like if I revisited that, I think it could be a very good time. But what I did learn from playing Leo through the draft challenge was that this spell slinging kill style of Leo is very fun and very doable, and I think I would love to revisit it again in the future with my own actual deck construction, so it's not just the draft decks, which aren't like perfect. They're not good. Okay, they're draft decks. What do you want me to say? Okay. We are on to Luke Robinson, who was the other half of the Twitch chat challenge. This deck kind of became a mess. I don't really have much to say about this deck here, other than Luke Robinson is very good. He's a very good investigator. His ability is very good. His ability, once you realize you can use it after enemies move in the hunter phase, becomes even fucking better. It's kind of unbelievable. He's a very strong investigator. He's very good at what he does, which is kind of like move around the board and then also get clues. As you can see, the deck was very conflicted with how things went. There's a Fae in here for some reason. I mean, like the Fae was added quite late into the whole thing. There's a Storing Up Trouble. There's a Close the Circle. That's what chat wanted for this. But I did have a very enjoyable time playing through that whole Twitch challenge. And the Luke Robinson deck did do what Luke Robinson does, which is move and get clues. So I know you're probably thinking, Justin, you've said all these decks were enjoyable. That's actually 100% true. I haven't had a bad time in a campaign for a very long time playing Arkham this year. It's been really nice. I've been having a very enjoyable time experimenting, exploring new deck ideas, and seeing what came of it. And I'm excited to finish out the year and hopefully get through the remaining investigators that we have on here, because there are some that I'm very curious to play. I will say that Lola Hayes is going to be on the next one. I'm currently playing with her right now on stream. So if you don't watch our streams, you can find our streams down in the description, twitch.tv/playingboardgames. I stream every Monday and Friday. Norman Withers was the last remaining character of my draft challenge 4. And he's good. He has 5 book. And he plays things cheaper on the top of his deck. He has 1 extra card in his hand, essentially. That's 1 cheaper. I don't have much to say about Norman. I thought he was good last year. I think he's good this year. He put up even in the draft challenge. And he also just has, a good book score. I believe he has 5 book. He has 5 book and 4 brain, or maybe 5 brain and 4 book. One of the two. But either way, his stats go. I mean, I have a screen right here. I can just look. My instinct says 5 book. Yeah, I was right. Just trust your instincts. 5 book. Norman Withers, he's a good time. I even had I actually purposely chose Overzealous in that deck, and it wasn't a problem. I removed one of the I had an enemy weakness from the pool, and I removed it from that, and then got the Overzealous, and it was the correct choice. Even chat at the time, they were like, "No, Justin, what are you doing?" It was the right choice. Norman Withers has 4 brain. He would much rather do something during the Mythos phase than get an enemy after he draws a card during his turn and then have to pass all his remaining actions. Will Yorick. Okay. I played Will Yorick in our recent Innsmouth run, all Survivor Innsmouth run. It was a blessed Yorick deck. This deck is not the final deck, because this is like the remnants of the deck. This is I modified the deck to fit for a deck guide that's coming out in 2 weeks from now. So you're going to hear me talk about that deck again then. But this deck was kind of naughty. I had 1 copy of Favor of the Sun, and I was just passing tests all the time that I wanted to pass. This is also the deck where I fell in love with Token of Faith. This card's really good. This card's good. I also figured out with the Blessed Blade how you're supposed to take advantage of Blessed Blade. It's not how you kill. It's just a way for you to get tokens in. This was a very a lot I discovered about this Will Yorick deck that really made me just kind of open my eyes to a bunch of cards that I previously shut them on, because I thought I would like never take advantage of Token of Faith. I thought this card was kind of just like there doing nothing. Card's good. Card's good in, I'm going to say, and not even in Blessed decks. I think the card's just good. If someone at your table is running curse tokens, and you're a survivor, and you don't have a plan for your necklace slot, check this card out. Try it out. It'll probably impress you more than you think. I do think, I will say though, I think the value goes up in Will Yorick because he can play it from his discard pile. I will say that. I'll respect the truth of the card, that this card does get better when you don't have to like play it from your hand. You can play it without an action, right? The things that were basically the biggest difference from my deck was that I played Oops 2. And it wasn't great. Oops 2 did not impress me. I thought it would be better than it was, but it absolutely was not as that good. Someone once described it to me as like a lucky, and while that is true, I don't think it's like, the thing about lucky is that you use it defensively or for important tests most of the time. And when you're the goon, you're kind of built to just pass your fighting tests, right? So Oops 2 was not as impressive as I thought it was going to be, which is a shame because I hated Oops 0 and I was hoping Oops 2. I think it's Oops 2. I mean, I can look once again. I have that power. Yeah, Oops 2. Man. Trust your gut, Justin. It just was not as spicy as I thought. Well, that is this resolution check-in. It's been a very enjoyable year, and I like looking back at all this and seeing all the investigators I've played. There's been a good chunk, and there's still a good chunk left to go, so we're going to do our best to try to get through them all. And then hopefully I'll be back soon for another investigator check-in video. And I will say, someone said this in the comment in the last video, even if I don't finish all this in 2022, as my resolutions goal was, I'm going to keep this going until I finish every investigator in a campaign at least once. So we're not finished once this is done. Once 2022 ends on the dawn of January 1st, 2023. I'm going to keep this going until I get every investigator done and still kind of do like a retrospective on those investigators. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate the support. Consider leaving a comment and liking the video. Great things to help us out on the YouTube algorithm. We really appreciate the support. If you want to become a patron and join the awesome names down here who support our channel, by the way, thank you so much to all our patrons supporting the channel. You can find the link down in the description where you get a bunch of cool things at the various pledge levels. Thank you so much. Have a good one. And as always, GG's.